Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Starting with the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Beneficent. I hope you are all fine and in good touch of health, and must be following my talks regarding the epidemiology and applied aspects. We have seen, obviously, of course, first we know, as we all know, the types of epidemiology. A is observational and B is interventional. So, out of observational, we have been discussing descriptive first. And out of descriptive, we saw all four types: case control, case series, correlational, or ecological, and of course cross-sectional studies. Cross-sectional are, I can say, cross-sectional studies and ecological studies. Now, the B type, or the second type, that is the analytical. Again, among analytical, we have got it's three types, or two types, you can say: cross-sectional, case control, and cohort. Cross-sectional, case control, and cohort studies, all those are types of descriptive, observational, and then analytical. One was the descriptive and second is the analytical. So analytical type has got again three types further: cross-sectional, case control, and cohort. Of course, case control is retrospective and cohort is perspective. So just see, analytical epidemiology. In descriptive epidemiology, the end result of the studies conducted is formulation of the hypothesis. As I repeatedly telling you that in descriptive epidemiology, we are in a position to actually go for a starting point. We can go to a point where we can start working on a research, or working on a project, or starting on to find out the causative agents of the disease. And we have the indicators, we have the I can say the hypothesis that this can be the cause of the disease, and now we can work on it. So analytical epidemiology proceeds a step further and tests those hypotheses. It establishes whether or not an association exists between the disease and the suspected factor. So that is where we are. The descriptive type of studies told us that there is a supposition, there is a hypothesis that this type of association exists between the disease and the suspected factor. In analytical studies, we analyze, we sort of I can say try to establish, we try to find out whether it is true or not, and if it does, the strength of this association and the statistical significance is determined. So what is the strength of this association, how much is the strength, and the statistical significance is required to see whether how much patients, say for example, out of 100 exposed to certain factor, how much have got the disease. If it is 1, if it is 10, if it is 90, 80, or it is 90. So if 90 people are obviously involved in with some causative agent in a disease, say for example smoking to lung cancer, that means the association is very strong and statistical significance is quite clear. And the analytical studies provide the why and how of those health events. Obviously the analytical study is now in a position. Previously it was just we know that this may well be the cause, this may well be the reason, because the descriptive study, it was a spot study, it was not a time frame study. Now in analytical study provides the why and how of the events. The key feature is comparison group. That is where we are. That is where we are concerned with analytical epidemiology. In analytical epidemiology undertakes either case control or cohort studies. I repeat, analytical epidemiology undertakes either case control or cohort studies. Now let us see one by one. So case control study. This study is undertaken on individuals who have already contracted the disease. So in case control study, we pick up a diseased person, and we see his history. We go back with the patient. We go back with the disease. We see, for example, somebody with lung cancer. We see that patient. We pick up. We decide. Go back and see whether this patient was a smoker. For how long? How many cigarettes used per day? Chain smoker? What type of smoker? And Say for example, we pick up 20 cases, we pick up 2 cases, we pick up 100 cases, and then we see what is the outcome. So it proceeds backward from effect to cause, the result to the start, and outcome to exposure. Outcome to exposure. So is called retrospective, going back studies. Going back studies. We go back. So it involves two sets of populations. One is the cases and others are the controls. Obviously, controls are the ones who have not developed the cancer. We pick up 100 sample from the normal population, can be called control. We pick up 20, we pick up whatever is the sample size, we pick up from the normal population, and then we pick up the cases, and both of which must be comparable. Comparable means their lifestyle, their exposures, their ecological area, their geographical area, their living factors, other nutritional factors, other factors in a society, other factors required for the living, hygienic factors, those are comparable to each other. So this study design is to test the association between disease occurrence and an exposure, suspected of causing or preventing that disease. Suspected of causing or preventing that disease. So the selection of the subjects is based on disease status as opposed to a cohort study in which the selection is based on exposure status. For example, we select smokers and we follow them and we see whether they develop lung cancer or not. Here in case control study, we go back, we pick up the patients and we see whether they were smokers or not. I think it was very, very much clear to you. Repeat it again. In case control study, we go back and pick up the diseased person and see the causes and previous history. From the previous history, we want to know the causes of the disease. And in cohort study, that is retrospective. In cohort study, perspective. We follow a patient or person exposed to certain causative agent like smoking in case of CA lung, and we see whether the patient, the person, the subject suffers the disease or not. Second, when we have to have the controls, we have to study, then we have two types of the groups. One is the diseased persons and other are the control. So in controls, we try to pick up the norms or the normals from the population, and we see whether what was their outcome or from where they have come. Now the cases are from the persons who have disease and controls from the persons who do not have the disease under study. We go back and we see both the control and the diseased person, their life history, and we go with the history in descriptive analytical studies, in descriptive analytical control, case control studies. So now the case control study is illustrated in the following 2x2 table. We prepare a table which contains 2 rows and 2 columns, each representing the presence or the absence of the exposure or the disease. It is also called a 4-fold table. So do not forget, the case control study table is also called a 4-fold table. 2x2 rows in a 4-fold table for case control study, because it consists of 4 elements A, B, C and D. From this given table, example of testing, the hypothesis that cigarette smoking causes the lung cancer can be illustrated this way. So first of all, the risk factor, that is cigarette smoking, present, those ones who smoke, cases, disease, lung cancer, absent, present or absent. In how many patients it was present, in how many patients it was absent. Controls, disease, lung cancer, absent or present. Disease or lung cancer, absent. In others who do not smoke, how many patients they had cancer, how many cases they had cancer, and how many people they did not have cancer, who were non-smokers. In this case, smokers, how many developed cancer, how many did not develop cancer. In which non-smokers, how many developed cancer and how many did not develop cancer. So the disease are the cases where cancer, lung cancer is present, A plus C and B plus D. So what this A plus D and what B plus D means, let us see. If the frequency of smoking is higher in cases where A/or by A plus C than in controls B by B plus D, then an association is said to exist between the smoking and the lung cancer. I repeat, if frequency of the smoking is higher in the cases, that is this one, then in the controls, that is this one, then for cases, for control. The result is, if in frequency is higher in A/A plus C, then control B over B plus D, then an association is said to exist between the smoking and the lung cancers. The basic steps in conducting a case control studies are, so the basic steps in conducting a case control study are the retrospective study, are the what I can say, the analytical type of case control study. The one is the basic steps. One is the selection of cases and controls and then matching. Matching means whether they live in the same society, they are exposed to the same factors, and they are exposed for the same time. Then is the measurement of the exposure, obtaining data on the exposure. Obviously, how much exposure was there. Exposure should be the same for the cases and the controls. There should not be any difference. Measurement of the exposure should be there. From this measurement, very easy data should be that how many cigarettes a day, 20 cigarettes per a day, 22 multiplied by 22 boxes a day, or whatever it is. And then the analysis with case control and with the case control studies for the cases and the controls in the retrospective way. First of all, the selection of the cases and control. The selection of the cases and controls, and then matching. First step. So this first step is to identify a suitable group of cases and a group of controls. Suitable, by saying suitable, we mean that they are exposed to the similar situations, similar factors. They are exposed to they've got the similar habits, they have got the similar smoking habit, they have got the similar nutritional habit, more or less similar. So identification of cases is relatively easy, while selection of the controls may present certain difficulties. There are certain guidelines. Why? Because the cases are quite obvious. Somebody developing CA lung, there is no problem in selection of the this sample. But from the normal people, the controls, it may be difficult. And what the difficulties are there? For those difficulties, there are certain guidelines. The diagnostic criteria of the disease and the stage, if any, must be specified before the study is undertaken and should not be altered till the study is over. So if we are going for a study is simply diagnosis, or if we want to know the stage, then we should be following the same, because we have to see the reference, we have to see the controls, we have to see the other studies. So it is not possible for us to, we see 2 cases from stage 1, 2 cases from stage 2, 2 cases from stage 4. It will be very, very difficult to go for the standard analysis. Then the controls must be as similar to the cases as possible. Because why? Such as age, sex, occupation, social status, and of course the exposure to the causative agent, exposure to the atmospheric agents, ecological equity, other things should be the same, which could distort the results if those are not the same, except for the absence of the disease under study. Obviously, the controls will not have the disease and the cases will have the disease. Difficulties may arise in selection of the controls if disease under investigation occurs in subclinical forms. If we are following a subclinical disease, the diagnosis is there, not symptoms, though difficulties may arise in the selection of the controls if the disease under investigation occurs in subclinical forms. The controls, still they develop the disease, but we do not know that. So whose diagnosis is difficult? If study group is large, one control for each case. And if small, under 50, then 2, 3 or even 4 controls may be selected for each study of the subjects to avoid, to control the bias in such cases. Then is the information about exposure should be obtained by interviews, questionnaires, or by studying past records of the cases. I have already told you the questionnaires, interviews, group discussions, their own, I can say, following those patients, following those controls will give us the standard information. So second is the measurement of the exposure. So measurement of the exposure can be done this way, by interviewing, by knowing how many cigarettes a day, what are the other exposure factors, what are the nutritional status we can follow. Finally, the analysis for such type of studies, the analytical or the case control study. The final step is the analysis to find out frequency of the exposure to suspected risk factors among the cases and the controls, rate of exposure to suspected risk factors in the cases. Then is obviously the frequency of exposure to the suspected risk factors among cases and controls. A case control study provides a direct estimation of the exposure rates, frequency of the exposure, obviously how many cigarettes, how many times a day, how much to the controls, how much to the disease, to a suspected risk factor in disease cases, and of course in the non-disease groups are the controls. And now see the frequency from the same table, the case control study from the same table where the causative agent where the suspected risk factor is present or absent, where the case is present and absent. Among the smokers, how many people did not develop disease, how many non-smoker developed the disease. Among the smokers, how many people developed the disease and how many people did not develop the disease. Then the calculation, obviously, if in above table A is equal to 33, B is equal to 55, C is equal to 2, and of course D is equal to 27, that means that in C, who did not smoke, but still 2 people were those who did not smoke but still they had the disease. Then obviously, then the exposure rates of the smart smoking in lungs cancer cases would be A/A plus B is equal to 94%, and in the control it will be B over B plus D is equal to 55 over 82, that means 67%. So it is now to be ascertained that whether there is a statistical association between the smoking exposure stimulus variable causative factor and the occurrence of the lungs cancer are the outcome, and the outcome variables where we saw that the controls, the prevalence was only 66%, 7%, and among the cases the exposure was 94 out of 100 people who were smokers. They developed 94 out of 100 people, 94.2 people developed cancer, and in the controls 67% out of 100, 67% developed cancer who did not smoke. So the question can be resolved by calculating p-value by the chi-square test, which in this case comes to be less than 0.001. If when we study chi-square test, we will know that if the boys are the difference, or the we can say the p-value is less than 0.001, it is fine, and if by any chance if the value is less than or equal to 0.005, it is statistically significant, and if it is more than 0.005, it is useless. So p-value is supposed to be less than 0.005. So if the p-value is less than or equal to 0.005, it is statistically significant. In this simple test, strong association exists between smoking and the lung cancer, as there is a 0.001 p-value. Then is that this can be calculated by then is the second that is the rate of exposure to suspected risk factors among cases and control. Rate of exposure. What was the rate? First was A was frequency of the exposure. Then is the rate of exposure to the suspected risk factors among cases and controls. Over here, the rate of exposure to the suspected risk factors among the cases and the controls. So this can be calculated by odds ratio, or the cross product ratio, which is a measure of the strength of the association between risk factor and the outcome. What is that? So very simple to know. Rate of exposure to the suspected risk factors among cases and controls. The odds ratio, that is the odds ratio is equal to odds of exposure among diseased. How many people were exposed who are diseased? Odds of exposure among non-diseased. How many people were exposed but they did not develop the disease? So rate of exposure can be calculated. So through odds ratio is equal to odds of exposure among disease, odds of exposure among non-disease. So the advantages of case control studies are the retrospective studies or going back studies or of course observational analytical case control studies. The advantages are relatively quick and inexpensive compared to the other analytical design appropriate for evaluation of diseases with long latent periods, useful design for study of rare diseases. Multiple potential risk factors can be evaluated simultaneously for a single disease. Then is obviously the disadvantages: inefficient for evaluation of rare exposure. Obviously we all know, we have seen it is difficult to analyze for the rare exposure, and of course it is inefficient in the subclinical cases as well, where the subclinical cases are there, or we can say the under icebergs phenomena, the hidden cases are there. So inefficient for evaluation of the rare exposure and inefficient for the icebergs hidden cases. So difficult to establish temporal cause effect relationship. Information on potential risk factors may not be available from records or study subjects' memory recall bias. Sometimes people do not know whether we used to use this disease, this drug, or whether we used in this nutritional habit in our life or not. So there may be a recall bias, so cannot calculate incidence of rate of the disease in such cases. So the odds of exposure among the diseases, ratio of exposure among disease to no exposure among the diseases, A over C, we all know that A is for exposure and C is for the no exposure, and of course ratio of the exposure among non-disease to non-exposure among non-disease is B by D. So odds ratio will be A by C divided by B over D. So A over C multiplied by D over B, it will be equal to that, and that will be AD over BD. That means 33 into 27 slash 55 into 2. That means the odds ratio will be 8.1. So the inference to this 8.1 odds ratio in analytical case control study is the cases diseased person are 8.1 times more at odds of smoking, likely to be smokers exposed to the risk factors, than the control or the non-diseased persons. Our interpretation of the odds ratio would be more than one positive association. The cases are more likely to have exposure than the control. And if odds ratio is equal to 1, that means no association. The cases are equally likely to have the exposure than the control's potential effects. That means the exposure is not, I can say, the exposure cannot be blamed for causing the disease if it is odds ratio is 1. It should be more than 1 by all means if we have to say the exposure has caused the disease. Then is obviously in case control studies there could be a recall bias. Cases recall better than the controls, that because they have developed the disease, and the controls may not be able to tell us that whether they were exposed to certain factors or not. So the interpretation of the odds ratio and the interview bias eliciting, and may sometimes people hide, sometimes people feel shy, sometimes people do not feel it comfortable accepting the cause. So that may be another bias. So interview bias, that is called interview bias. So eliciting and interpreting data difficulty between the cases and the control. For example, mothers of the babies having a birth defect would recall antenatal exposure better than the mother of babies without a birth defect. So those mothers who give birth to babies with birth defect will remember that they had this problem during their pregnancy, but antenatal exposure to the rays or whatever it is, or medicines or whatever, but the mothers giving birth to the normal babies will not recall whether they used to take any medicine, whether they were exposed to X-rays or any other radiation during pregnancy. So that is for the up till now for the analytical study, descriptive analytical case control studies. Now next will be descriptive analytical retrospective or cohort studies. Meanwhile, I hope you will follow my lectures. Those are the last lectures of this session and of course this semester. Then we'll see you live if it is possible. Stay blessed. Goodbye.